Hey, Damon DeMarco here for CreateX3.com. You want to see something really freaky? Watch what happens to my neck muscles when I drink this bottle of water. I've been doing a lot of yoga lately, and in particular, scorpion pose. My scorpion pose does not look like that, but it's getting there. Anyway, I think it's having some kind of an effect on my neck. Strange, but true. Please hit subscribe down in the little box below. Ring the bell. Make sure that you get every video that I upload. Something else I'd like to announce. We recently launched my weekly newsletter. It's completely free to you. It is called Create-a-thon, and you can sign up for it anytime at CreateX3.com. It's so simple. You just go to CreateX3.com, and there's a little pop-up. Do you see it right there? Just type in your email address, and every Wednesday is really when I've been shipping this stuff out. All sorts of essays about subjects that have really helped my creative process, and my hope is that if they've helped my creative process, they will in some way help your creative process. So if you're interested in that, again, it costs you absolutely nothing. It's something I love to do. So go to createx3.com and sign up, and hope to see you there. I'm going to start today's video with an apology because I'm looking here at my computer and I'm going back through all these emails that have come to me from the channel, and there are some that I just haven't had a chance to get to yet, and that's not why I went into business in the first place, so to speak. I really enjoy responding to people and answering questions and getting pieces of advice from you and being part of this community that we've built very slowly but gradually over the past 3 years. And so I apologize. It's just been super busy here lately, which is a good thing. My intent to get back to each and every one of you, but sometimes things get a little crazy here. I'm writing full-time and acting, and I'm a consultant. What can I say? It's especially galling to me because there was somebody in August 26th, who sent me a super thanks. Now, for those of you who don't know, that's when somebody sends like $10. This person, I remember in the email, said, "Hey, thank you for referring me to Gramercy typewriter. I had a typewriter problem, and you referred me to Gramercy, and they were wonderful, and so I just wanted to buy you this cup of coffee." I usually like to thank people on air for that because one good turn deserves another, but in this case, I wasn't able to because I lost the email. That's how busy I've been. So I feel like a complete turd. To this person who sent me the super thanks, thank you. It means a lot when people say things like, "Hey, you helped me out." It's what I do this for in the first place, to share my ideas about creativity and to, learn as much from you as I hope that you're learning from me. I'm very grateful for it. The last video I posted was about dark mentors in literature and how that archetype is really powerful and can be used to explore many different story avenues. And during it, I said, well, if you're really interested in this kind of work, I could do, if you like, a video on the shapeshifter archetype as detailed in Christopher Vogler's great book, The Writer's Journey. I'll put a link to that down here. And I also talked a little bit about the shadow, which is a psychological concept that was pioneered by Carl Jung, and I think is one of the most powerful things out there. How, when we learn to master our shadow, we release tremendous amounts of psychological power that were repressed or suppressed at a certain point in our lives. I've been doing work in this area for a very long time, and it's always been very, very worthwhile. So people responded positively to both of these offers to do videos. The next videos that I do will be about the shapeshifter archetype and how you can embrace your shadow, and how embracing your shadow can be of tremendous use in your creativity process. Please look for those videos. Right now it's the end of October. I hope to have them out in November. Thank you so much for your responses to the mere mention of those videos. And now let's get to today's video, which is about how losing your temper can really help your career explode in a very positive way. Most of you know that I'm also an actor. What I find myself doing a lot these days is using acting as a vehicle to consult for other people who need to find the best version of themselves and put that across to an audience. Typically, this is business executives, C-suite executives, middle managers, director-level people, assistant directors. I've even worked with what you and I would call entry-level positions. Sometimes an MBA student who's trying to make a presentation better. At any rate, what I'm going to show you today is a clip that I posted recently on LinkedIn with my business partner in this area, Daryl Stern, the marketing Jedi at Stern Marketing. Even if you're not interested in taking the course, this little piece of information may be of some use to you somewhere down the line. You could be making a presentation at some point or a pitch. You might have to address a work group at your job or a team. You could be an academic who's delivering at a symposium. You could be somebody who's at an industry trade show. I've worked with all of these people using the one specific technique that you're about to see. And so I thought I'd offer this to you. Check it out.
Welcome, and good morning. So we have been doing some audio events, Damon and I, some audio lives, but now we're shifting over to doing some video lives. So every Thursday morning for the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear us on the audio. But Friday mornings, we're going to take this on to video. So some of you who have tuned in before might be wondering, who is this Damon DeMarco guy if you're in my network? Here we go. We're going to bring on the amazing and incomparable here, Mr. Damon DeMarco, to the stage. Welcome, Damon DeMarco, on a Friday morning. Today, we're talking about losing your temper and gaining something from that. Now, first, what you were helping me, you said, this is a great topic. I got a perfect lesson for this. And I said, I don't know, but I trust you. But then I started to think about it. And there's been a lot of times when, I've been very angry, like in a corporate situation. I had a person I was working for who would give me the same assignment as someone else, not tell us. And then we'd all go in our separate directions working on the same thing. And then there would be, this utter frustration and, craziness. Sure. Sometimes pointed to the other person when it's really the main person's fault. But regardless, throwing that fit is actually sometimes good, as long as you're not doing it to the other person and sending the nasty email to the other person. But that release of energy is sometimes very healthy and helpful to get that going. Yeah.
It's called catharsis,
Yeah, catharsis. So take us through, in terms of the world of speaking and selling and being in business, how throwing a temper tantrum or using your temper can actually benefit you in terms of your body, your wellness, the way that you speak to other people.
Right. It's a very good topic, and I think that you're very smart in bringing it up. And I can use myself as an example because right now I'm in my kitchen. And why am I in my kitchen in my Manhattan apartment? It's because my neighbors are having some construction done next door. So there's this banging that you might hear. Now, that plays into what we're about to do because it's very frustrating, right? Here I've got to do a video presentation and I want to be at my best, but, then I hear this constantly on the wall. So I moved into my kitchen. The point I'm trying to make is that, and you made it, is that we're human beings. We get anxiety, right? Things bubble up inside of us and we need to exercise them in some way, or we're going to bring them in front of other people. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. In terms of some of the other presentations too that we're giving and that we're going to give about being stiff on stage or getting stuck on stage or not being present and talking to the other person because you're so, concentrating on yourself and just trying to say standing up. Right. This is a great practice, as you're describing, to release and get everything, going and becoming more in the present and releasing the anxiety and all that. Anxiety is a good thing. If we weren't nervous about it, it wouldn't be something worthwhile. Right.
I read an article recently where the psychologist said, we've got to stop demonizing anger and we've got to stop demonizing anxiety because they're evolutionary mechanisms that have allowed our species to survive for as long as it has. And actually, under controlled circumstances, they can be very, very powerful. They can be extremely cathartic for people who are doing anything pretty much. If we lose our anger or our anxiety, that's not actually as good as it probably sounds. However, as you mentioned, we have to learn to control it. And so, for instance, this morning when I heard the banging start up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. That's a perfect moment to do what I call the Krakatoa exercise. Now, Krakatoa, you probably remember, is a volcano in Indonesia that erupted back in the 1840s, and it literally, ash and soot went all over the world, and it bogged everything down, and like as far away as Ohio, crops were failing. It was a potential world disaster. Well, what if Krakatoa had been allowed to blow off steam in a controlled manner? And it looks like this. To do the Krakatoa exercise, you literally you go to a private place and you give yourself some permission to just have a fit. You let your anxiety out and your anger out and you start to really get into it. How do you do it? You find the first thing that really pisses you off that morning. These neighbors, oh God, could it be any worse timing? Could it be any worse timing? How could it be this? And then you let it build. The coffee this morning was it was too bitter. It was awful. I can't stand a travel agency, and she keeps screwing up my travel arrangements. You worked yourself into a fit, and it's not pretty. It's ugly as hell, but it's very, very human. And you see what happens is, it's actually starting to happen to me right now. My diaphragm, that part where my breathing starts to, it regulates my breathing. It's a huge muscle that actually moves up and down and moves the lungs. It's actually very relaxed right now. You might even hear my voice drop down into a completely different register right now. How did that happen? It happened because the physiological response to losing your temper is to relax. All of the anxiety gets out of you. And now I feel very, very good. I feel like I can actually focus on doing my job. Does that make sense?
Well, we have such a range of capability in our bodies and our emotion. And yes, our society has confined us to, well, you have to stay calm. You have to be professional, quote unquote. You have to stay in this box. And this affects us in all kinds of other things in our lives. Yeah, if we didn't have that sixth sense 10,000 years ago, we all would have been eaten by lions, right? And we wouldn't exist, right? This natural sixth sense of run or get scared all of a sudden or, be angry, we wouldn't exist because we need that sudden rush of something to release us and get us into it's almost like another modality, like Jekyll and Hyde. Like all of a sudden you can become this other type of being that just has so much fits. And I swear I had so much anxiety about the upcoming, temper tantrum you were about to demonstrate that my Google Chrome disappeared. It just disappeared. The whole thing shut down. It felt the vibration of Damon coming on with all the energy. It did. It just zapped. The whole presentation just went off my screen. I had to reboot the whole thing.
Right.
I agree. I 100% agree. So let's get more specific into some specific situations around business, right? Let's say that your boss has been really upsetting you. Your boss is emailed. I used to get emails from my boss 20 years ago, and she would use 16 exclamation points. She would say, "Thank you," exclamation point 16 times. And it was so sarcastic and so into me, but yet I had to meet with her. I had to go into the office. And if I didn't take some time to, sometimes I do it to somebody, to complain to somebody else, not in the company, or do it myself to release all that, I would have lost that job. I would have come storming in there ready to, all of that kind of thing. So,
well, now put yourself in the situation now where you are delivering a presentation. I mean, everything that you're saying is true, but now put yourself in the situation where you're delivering a presentation to a work group or a team, or you're going up in front of a large audience at like an industry show or a trade festival or something like that. You have to take charge of that situation because one of the basic tenets of performance is that you're always going to be yourself on stage or in front of a camera. Meaning, if you're an anxious person or if you're carrying some kind of anxiety with you, what's going to happen is you're naturally going to bring that up on stage with you. So it becomes incumbent upon us to manage that. And how do we do it? Well, there's a number of ways that we do it, but the Katoa Exercise, for instance, is one of them where we literally, it's like a warm-up exercise. If you're a golfer or a baseball player or some other sport, do you not warm up before doing your exercise? I hope you do, otherwise you might pull a hamstring or something like that. Well, giving a presentation is no different. It is absolutely incumbent upon you to take charge of your own process, take stock of where you are that day and say, oh my goodness, I have a lot of anxiety about this or that or this. It could be work issues, it could be personal issues. The human mechanism, in my experience, is a very deep repository of anxiety, right? All sorts, especially these days, we've got so much going on in the world. So what happens is we have to leach that energy out somehow, but in, as you said, a constructive manner. If you can't talk it out with somebody else, somebody that you trust, then do it in private. Throw a hissy fit. And you'll see immediately it works wonders on the body. And the moment it works wonders on the body, you're freed up to really focus in on what it is that you're doing, really take your time and deliver what you need to do. and have an executive presence in front of other people, which is all any corporation is ever looking for. Calm,
Excellent.
constructive, and direct and clear. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, it totally does. And it's something I'm going to shift this over into video marketing in a second and inbound marketing. But
Sure.
yeah, 3 years ago, I had an idea to create, an acting class for business people because I've shot 9,000 videos of people all over the country telling different stories and all these kind of stuff. And the one thing that I saw that they didn't have was this acting and theater experience that both we have. So 3 years later, I mentioned this to Damon, who has literally written the Bible for actors that's used by Academy Award-winning actors and actresses and Broadway people and all that, with one of the top acting trainers. And he said, this is right up my alley. So now all of a sudden I found a resource, to do it together. So we'll be posting the link to that. You can check it out. You can DM us and ask us more questions about actually learning acting and all the techniques professional actors use that can help you in all of your different, business goals. So in inbound marketing, how I write scripts for that to get someone to have the hope that you can help them is to first be angry with them and to say, are you frustrated because those jerks at work won't listen to you and you're right? And most of the time when I teach that, the people will read the script and they'll say, are you frustrated that you can't do it? And I go, no. Oh, you these goddamn people. And I go like that, and they go, like, I get like that. I'm not going to do that in my marketing. I'm not going to do that. And we're emotional, period. Like, that's what we are. And our range of emotion immediately can lock with someone else. And if all you have is this little bitty phone and a video to try and convince people and bring them into your program, if you think that's going to happen without you actually sympathizing and empathizing with someone's frustration first, then you're going to see that you're going to be posting a lot of stuff and it's not going to go anywhere.
I agree with everything you're saying. The other thing that I've noticed about most people that I've worked with, executives, directors, managers, I've been more with entry-level people, but it's all pretty much the same thing. Most people that I've worked with, they've never given themselves permission to express anxiety above this level. And so when we work together, what happens is I'm trying to bring them up to this, so that what happens is eventually, if you can achieve this, it's always easy to dial it back to this, somewhere in the middle. So it's always easy to tone somebody down once they've reached a height and say, what you're giving me right there is a 10 and all I really need is a 7. Can you just dial it back a little bit? And they go, oh, not a problem. But if they're starting at a 1 and really the presentation or the pitch or the experience that they're trying to achieve, the video that they're trying to make needs to be at a 7, that's where the work comes in. That's where we have to kind of do what you just did, which is kind of come, literally give them permission to come out of themselves and then say, that's fantastic. We're not going to use that take, but let's do another take where you just dial it back a hair and you're right in. Does that make sense?
Oh, I'll use that intense take because I love it. So in theater, in plays, in movies, there's this moment when the hero is buried underground, or, this is the act 2, where everything's going bad. And all of a sudden there's this look, right? This, Thor or whatever, whatever superhero movie or whatever. And there's this look of, right? Even though they're the good guys too, right? There's this look of, all of a sudden, this little bit of rage is going to come out. That's going to be the part where they go, back and punch the enemy out. And, that's the end of the movie and all that, when they were almost defeated. We use that tapping into anxiety, that adrenaline rush, that all of a sudden, this may be the end of me, but no, it's not going to be to do that. So it's common there, as you're pointing out, but it's not so common when we go into business, right?
Well, I was just going to say, it can be present in business if you elect to put it in there. It's really a question of consciousness. Are you going to acknowledge the fact that you're in a state that you need to express something that you consider to be inexpressible? Mm-hmm. And the sad thing, I think, is that today, especially with our, the state of the world being, everybody's got a lot of anxiety. I think that's a fair thing to say. And so a lot of people are carrying around this locked anxiety with them. And immediately what it does is it has this physiological effect. Your breathing gets shorter, your posture changes, your shoulders hunch, your neck gets all hunched up, and suddenly you're not at your best. Not only that, but other people, since we're all human animals, right? We animals in the wild sense it when one of them's off. we're no different than that. We can sense when somebody is extremely bound up, when they feel like they've got a lot of rage inside of them. And so immediately when we're around somebody like that, we kind of want to back away as quickly as possible. Well, that's not the optimum situation for you to bring into a pitch or a presentation or even a work group. It's not optimum for you to even interact with a colleague on a one-on-one basis. It's not good. And so part of the idea of bringing the actors training into business is to allow these techniques to let you be at your best in every single situation. It could be on camera, it could be in front of an audience, it could be on a one-on-one basis with you, your managees, your superiors, whatever it is. And I've seen this work wonders over and over and over again in all sorts of situations. Government agencies, huge corporations, fintechs, academic institutions, everywhere that I've worked, I've used these techniques, and they have been extremely beneficial to everybody that I applied them with.
Awesome. So, what is another actor's exercise to get that anxiety, right? Or use the temper, either in the dramatic scene or before the actor begins, as we're talking about in business, to release it. What's another exercise that you have seen or that you do that helps with that?
Okay, this one that I'm going to recommend probably sounds completely off the wall, but a lot of times the truth is people don't know what they're anxious about. And that's really when anxiety has reached a stage where it's even past chronic and it's kind of endemic to their whole nervous system. They haven't taken the time to really explore what's going on inside of them. And so before you can do an exercise like Krakatoa, you kind of have to have an idea of what it is that's making you upset. And so what I recommend everybody do is take 15 minutes a day, minimum. If you can go to half an hour, great. Carry around a little notebook with you. And I want you to write out every single morning, make a ritual out of it, everything that's going on in your life. Free write. There's no way to do this wrong. It's a journaling exercise. So all you really have to do is show up for work, essentially. Make sure that you do this every single day. You will find yourself coming to the blank page, and you will find yourself writing out everything that makes you happy, everything that makes you sad, everything that absolutely infuriates you, everything that confounds you, everything that is about you when you do this journaling exercise will come out onto that page. It's just the way it happens when you give yourself permission to do this. And then what happens is that you read back over that work maybe once a week or so, and you start to get to know this unusual person whom you've been interacting with all your life, and it's you, the real you. Not the you who has been put on, we put on a show for other people. We put on a veneer most times, especially in a corporation, especially at a workplace. There's certain ways that we think that we have to behave and that are going to be rewarded. That's not you. I'm sorry to tell you. The real you is this other animal, which is entirely there's a lot of potential in that animal. There's a lot of squishiness. There's a lot of untapped potential in that animal. And so what happens is when you begin to write all this stuff down, you begin to find very, very quickly your pressure points, your pain points, the things that are really, really aggravating you. And then once you've gotten very, very intimate with those things, when you do the Krakatoa exercise, you release it in a way that is no longer going to hold you back. It is actually going to lift you up. So does that make sense to you?
I wish Damon would share more of the goddamn video posts. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I thought you were still talking.
Well, I'm glad that you said that because
it's such a good exercise to write down.
Yeah. There's no boundary to what you should write down ever.
I will tell you that I have sent emails that have ended relationships, that have ended opportunities, that have ended all kinds of opportunities and stuff, because I didn't take that time and journal every day and just let out all that emotion before I came into the work situation or before I read the email or whatever or anything like that. And you might have heard this and someone might have advised you, like call a friend, text a good friend or something.
That's right.
So practicing having that temper tantrum, let that temper tantrum out. And and we all have something that we are fed up with. It might be something in ourselves, it might be something in somebody else, but by doing that, you will then have more command over yourself and be able to express yourself more clearly and with more, it's a joke, pleasant emotion than otherwise. And it is that control that we must maintain, while at the same time knowing that there is a place to say, yeah, I'm angry about this. Yeah, this is frustrating the crap out of me, and to get that out.
It's being your own best friend. You mentioned this idea of talking to your best friend, right? And it's essentially taking on the role of your own best friend. You have a conversation. As a matter of fact, I would submit that most healthy people do this, either with somebody else or with a family member, a therapist. It can be anything, but one way that you can do this, which is incredibly inexpensive and perhaps even most effective, is to do this journaling exercise. And if you've read any of the studies on journaling, there is scientific basis behind this. This is not just anecdotal. For years, people have kept journals, right? Some of our best historical texts, at least in the Western canon, have come from people who have journaled. Samuel Pepys, Suetonius, Tacitus, all of these people in our history were literally, Marcus Aurelius, they were just writing down their meditations, right? And so they've become very valuable to us in the course of at least Western history. Well, nowadays in scientific exploration, they've actually done fMRI studies on this. They've scanned the brain as people are making these notes before and after. And the studies are relatively exhaustive. And what they show is that you are literally rewiring your brain by doing these exercises. You are coming into a greater relationship with yourself by doing these exercises. And so you're absolutely correct, Errol. We all have a tendency to bottle things up and unfortunately a lot of times loose them in the wrong circumstances. But we can kind of circumnavigate that by giving ourselves a greater depth of understanding into who we are and how we're going to express ourselves. It's about giving ourselves more choices. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense, and I hope it makes complete sense to the rest of you guys. So we are 31 days to the moment, to the launch of the new Acting for Business People program that we put together. I am sure, and I posted the link in the comments, here, that you guys are going to want to talk to either one or both of us about this, program. We have set it up so there's a payment program on it. We want to make it affordable, but we're only going to take 10 people into this. This is not something we can do to a massive amount of people, because it's not a lecture, everybody listen sort of environment. It is hands-on. We're going to be working with you, giving you the exercises. You're going to do the exercise with the partners, all kinds of different things that are very interactive. Acting is reacting to another person, right? And it's an interactive activity. So there's going to be a lot of intense work that we do. So we'll be back next Thursday and Friday with both an audio and a video live. And of course, DM us, say hello, say, hey, look, this is something that I want to delve into. I want to have more presence, more control, more use of my emotional range to bring the world of acting and theater into how I behave and communicate in the business world. So thanks, guys. We'll be back. And I will tell you this, you will never meet a more studied or learned person, a more professional person than Damon DeMarco. He has really delved into, the history of human communication, not just the history of theater, but the history of human communication and the history of how we are, so well that if you went to a university, this would be, part of a graduate school program. And we're bringing it to you without you having to apply to Carnegie Mellon's MFA program. You can get a taste of and learn some of the very, very best techniques in acting and theater. So we're glad to bring this to you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay creative.